All right, so safety, in my mind, as for a good rider, I think personally that a lot of it for me is riding within your means. Yeah, so not trying to, you get to a point in your riding career where you understand when you're going, when you're trying to ride a bit too hard.
You're exceeding your skill set.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think one massive part of safety is. Because if you're consistently riding either outside your experience level or outside your skill level, then it's not necessarily going to end well.
And that could be if you're showing off.
Now, the opposite end of that same coin is that if you are a hobby racer and you're trying to get better at racing, then pushing your limits is the whole point when you're on a racetrack.
But is there not a safe place that those riders would be practicing anyway?
Well, and that's another part of this conversation is someone who is a club racer, are they necessarily a good street rider? Maybe not.
Yeah, I've heard that argument for
because
F1, actually.
they're gonna have more control over their bike, arguably, or they're gonna know how to get out of hairy situations in, like, I don't know, like going too fast around a corner, for example. A racer, someone that's got experience in racing, is probably going to be more aware of what it is they need to do in that situation if they're going too fast into a corner than someone that maybe doesn't. I mean, that is something that that studies have shown before, I believe, is that a lot of the times when riders are going too fast into a bend, it's not that they were going too fast into the bend, it's just they didn't know how to make the turn.
To judge it, maybe.
Yeah, not judging it. No, they just didn't know how to make the turn. So either they didn't know how far they could lean the bike over, they didn't know how they can slow themselves down in a turn, because obviously using the front brakes on a turn can be deadly. The bike will just slip out from underneath you if you're, if you're braking too hard. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose we can come back to that. So, a good rider doesn't necessarily mean a safe rider, because safe is subjective. Well, all this is subjective, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking bollocks. What do you think? You've hardly been talking.
I'm sorry. I think...
Bearing in mind that you haven't ridden for that long, but where do you think your inexperiences are? Like, where do you think being at the stage you're at, where if you say, imagine you're at this point, how many steps have you got to go through before you actually become subjectively a good rider?
I put way more hours in on the road, for sure.
So, so being someone that is constantly riding, getting that experience.
Because
that's a good point.
Because if you can watch all the dash cam footage that you want of riders, and he's joined in the conversation.
He sure has.
Of riding going wrong and all that sort of stuff. But until you're unfortunately in the situation where you have to make a decision, or you have to get out or be safe or whatever, you're never going to learn. And I think that's one of the things is that sorry,
do you want to take a drink?
It's all that laughing. I think you have to put the hours in to get better and to, again, understand your means and be able to expand on your skill set and things like that. So I think that's part of it. I don't think being a pillion really... I think being a pillion gives you some road awareness and some awareness of being on a bike, but it's nothing like actually... I'd never become from being a pillion and be like, I'm a world-class rider, because completely different when you're in control.
Well, yeah,
completely different.
A pillion is active in the experience, but they're not, like you said, they're not in control of what's going on, per se.
But I think road hours are a big part of being of it.
So this is something then that really people can't help, is it? Because in order to become a good rider, you have to put the hours in to become a good rider.
Yeah, you can be satisfactory enough to pass your test. But that's
that doesn't make you a good rider.
that's what I'm saying.
Passing your test does certainly not make you a good
but
rider.
You can do enough to be satisfactory enough to pass, but it's like when you're learning to drive, you can tick all those boxes that yes, I can do an emergency brake and I can turn the car on and not stall and all that sort of stuff. But until you're actually on your own and you're having to control that thing by yourself, and there isn't someone in your ear telling you what to do or where to go, all of a sudden your experiences, you start to gain that experience.
Yeah, I suppose that I wouldn't say that I'm a good rider necessarily. I'm aware of the mistakes that I make whenever I'm riding, but I wouldn't say I'm a model rider. You know, like if someone is, you know, trying to perfect their riding ability, then looking at, you know, the things that I do whilst I'm riding, I don't think is necessarily like.
Sorry.
I don't think that is. I don't think I could be that person. Like I know stuff about riding. I ride myself a lot, but a lot of the time, it's. I don't know. I just want to put that out there. I by no means think of myself as a perfect rider. I don't think anyone can class themselves as a perfect rider.
No, because you can't judge what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis.
What I determine to be good riding ability is going to be completely different to someone else.
So
I mean, from how long have I been riding now?
Decade?
No, more than that. I think it's been 13 years. 13, maybe 14 years. 14 years of riding. So a lot of that does come down to just experience, I think, you know. But it is true, though. It does get to a point where you are either more or less dangerous on the road.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I can't remember what the statistics are for younger riders or riders that have got, say, less than 2 years experience, but it's something ridiculous. Like, a large majority of motorcycle-related deaths on UK roads are inexperienced riders or riders with less than 2 years experience.
Okay, so I have a counter question for you then. Do you think riders who do all these advanced motorcycle qualifications and go out riding with the police and all that sort of stuff are better riders than you because they've got those?
Again, I don't think that is a substitute for experience. So, like, for example, if you've got a rider, let's say a police officer who has done, obviously, their full motorcycle test, and then they've gone to do some kind of advanced motorcycle training. As far as I'm concerned, if they haven't ridden for more than 2 years, then they're still almost just as much of a risk as someone else.
But what if someone's been riding for, say, 40 years? And they've been riding for a long, long time, and then they go and do courses that have been run by people who used to be in the police, and it's all about riding skills and things like that.
Things like that, I mean, I can't really comment because I've never been on an advanced riding course, so I can't say for certain. But my impression is that a lot of the time when you're riding, you will pick things up.
Yeah.
You know? So you'll pick things up that will either make you a better rider or more dangerous rider. You know, some people might pick up habits that are potentially dangerous. You know, I've said before that the habit that I've got is sticking too close to cars in front of me. A lot of the time it's because I'm trying to get a better view of the road ahead, but I'm not watching what's under my nose kind of thing.
Yeah.
As much as I'm looking further up the road.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, that's one of those big things that I'm trying to work on myself, is trying to be able to find ways of getting the view down the road that I want without being too close to any vehicles in front of me.
Yeah.
And that's something that I am working on. I suppose things like advanced training courses might help with something like that. I don't know. maybe not. But it probably gets to a point where if you've been riding for long enough, the things that these advanced riding courses are going to try teaching you, you're probably already going to know most of it.
Maybe.
I think. But then again, like I said, I can't comment. That's just my impression. I can't give anyone a firm yes or no on that. I have no doubt that there are these motorcycle instructors, these advanced riding instructors that have got, little gems of knowledge, little golden nuggets of knowledge that will help your riding ability, your riding safety, perhaps as much as tenfold. You just don't know. But I don't know personally how beneficial advanced riding courses are.